Alright, so I got my chance to play Battlefield 2042 on early access after buying the Gold Edition. I was expecting it to be more buggier than the beta, but to my surprise, the game is fairly polished. Don't get me wrong, it's not perfectly polished. There are some ragdolls going nuts here and there, the netcode's a little wonky, and sometimes I can't join a server, but overall, I think my experience with the game completely inundates those technical problems that I've witnessed, and I think Battlefield 2042 is great so far. However, once again, like I said in my video on Actman, the Battlefield cycle of retardation continues, and one of those people that has gotten themselves involved in that cycle is none other than DreamcastGuy. DreamcastGuy has just made an honest review on Battlefield 2042, and it's shit. It's fucking horseshit. And I'm going to dive into why that's the case. So I hope you're ready for more of that cringe EA shilling and Battlefield fanboyism. Because guess what? If being right makes me a shill, then I'm glad to be a shill. So anyways, let's dive into this shit. Absolute banger of an intro.
This is easily the most broken game I have attempted to play in all of 2021.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a contradiction right there, Dreamcast guy, because you played the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition and gave that a good score, even though that game is also a big pile of shit when it comes to bugs and bad graphics, but Battlefield 2042 is worse, I guess? I don't know, man. Seems kind of hypocritical for you to call out this game for having bugs when you praised the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition, which is having the same problems. And then once you got called out for it, you decided to address it in another video. And another thing that I must point out is that you are apparently shocked by how the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition is being review bombed, even though the same thing is happening to Battlefield 2042. I mean, yeah, I'm sure that the GTA Trilogy Remastered is fun, but if you're going to call out a game for having bugs, at least do me a favor and
keep that same energy.
This does not work, the lobbies are crashing, the servers themselves are not online, there's limited weapons, there's only 2 game modes, there's only 7 maps. Battlefield 2042 absolutely sucks.
I'm sorry? The weapons are limited? There's only 7 maps? There's only 2 modes? All of those are factually incorrect, my guy. There's a fuck ton of things in that game. You're basically downplaying Battlefield 2042 in its entirety. Like, let me explain. So he said that there's only 2 modes, right? Which, no, there isn't. You have All-Out Warfare, you have Hazard Zone, and then you have Portal. Now, especially with Portal, it's not just one singular mode. You can literally make your own kind of battlefield in Portal. That's what makes it stand out compared to everything else. Portal is not just one mode. It's a mode that contains several different other modes. This can range from things like massive team deathmatch, knives only, your regular conquest match, zombies mode, which is kind of like infection. I don't really know how to describe that mode. I mean, dude, there's a fuck ton of things going on in Portal, and it's fucking awesome. Now, he also said that there's only 7 maps, which, first of all, why does that matter when the maps are large scale? You know how long it takes to make a large scale map? That's like complaining that PUBG only launched with like, what, 5 or 6 maps, even though that game is really big? Secondly, I know that this game launched with 1 less map when you compare it to Battlefield 5's launch, but once again, you have to consider the Portal mode. If you don't like how All Out Warfare only has 7 maps, guess what, motherfucker? Portal mode exists. Same thing can be said by how the game is apparently limiting you based on weapons. If you consider Portal mode, which is basically the game's saving grace, you have 13 maps and over 40 different weapons. That's why Portal mode is so special. If you don't like All Out Warfare, play Portal. I can guarantee you that you will have an amazing experience on there, whether you host your own game or join one.
Do not buy it.
You know, after watching this video, I decided to buy the Gold Edition, just to spite you.
Now, the point of this video is I'm going to try and convince you exactly why this game is such a freaking mess, and why there is a tiny slice of it that I unfortunately enjoyed.
There are a few things that you unfortunately enjoyed. Why is that a bad thing?
What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and this is my brutally honest review of Battlefield 2042. Now, where do I even start with this? Let's begin at the beginning. So this is a new game that's just come out, except technically it hasn't. This is currently the early access version of it that reviewers have, and also if you paid $100, this is the ultimate edition of it. And even in this early state, the servers cannot seem to handle the tiny limited player base.
Gee, I must have played an entirely different game because, yeah, even though I had server issues, it wasn't like I was unable to play the game. I did notice that this was a major issue when early access started, but I'm pretty sure that's been fixed because now I almost never run into these problems and I get to play the game whenever I want. I don't know, man. Some of these issues that people are coming across, like what DreamcastGuy will talk about later on, I have never encountered so far. Again, there are some bugs that I've witnessed, but it's nothing major or game breaking.
Everything about this game is a completely glitchy catastrophe. In fact, this has been out for about 30 hours now. There is already over 1,400 reported errors in the game itself. These bugs range from tiny errors of just textures not loading, all the way up to some very major stuff like the fact that sometimes your gun won't fire or enemies can be immune to bullets. This game is constantly just shredding itself to bits.
Oh no. Bugs and glitches in a Battlefield launch. Like, water is wet. Although I'm kinda curious on why you're using a Reddit thread as a source for bugs in this game. I don't think it's fair to use that as a source since there's literally no proof about these kind of bugs. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not true, but I would like to see proof that apparently your gun won't fire and stuff like that. Also, I looked into that Reddit thread myself. It's not thousands of different bugs. It's literally a couple dozen mentioned bugs here and there, and then the rest are just people going, "Oh, I had that same problem." But again, I don't think Reddit is the most reliable source you could use there. Just saying.
Now here's the part of this that definitely frustrates me the most, is the fact that there is no single player in this. If you want to play Battlefield 2042, this is an online-only experience, and more than that, it has no story. There's no campaign, so it's not that you can just play the single player until they fix it. The only part of this experience that even exists right now is completely destroyed because of how broken the game is.
Alright, so if you're gonna go into this route where you'll claim Battlefield 2042 sucks because there's no campaign, then let's dissect that, why don't we? So you're complaining that a multiplayer only game is $60 or $70 and has no campaign. But why is it okay if a single player game is the exact same price where its replay value is nowhere near as good as a multiplayer game? Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is a 6-hour long single player game and it's $70. Why is that okay, but not for a multiplayer only game like Battlefield 2042, where you could have an entirely different experience each time you play? That's just some confusing logic right there. And another thing, I don't know if you knew this, but the Battlefield series always started without a campaign. It's always been known for its multiplayer. Even considering some of the Battlefield games that do have a campaign, do those people really give a shit about the campaign? No, not really. You take a look at games like Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4, those games have full lobbies to this day. Those games are still alive, not because of their campaigns, but their multiplayer. So once you take that into consideration, why exactly is it a problem that DICE takes away the campaign part of a Battlefield game?
I truly pity anybody who bought this. So let's talk about the two different game modes, the custom game lobbies, which is called Portal, and the 7 different maps.
It's not just two modes, but okay.
So essentially when you're playing this, there's two separate things you could do. There's Conquest, which is massive areas that you have to try and capture in order to get points. There's also Breakthrough Mode, which has you pushing deeper into enemy territory to basically hold as many points as possible. So it's Conquest with extra steps. And Hazard Zone, which is the more tactical game type. Let me start off by talking about Hazard Zone because this is much smaller and much more technical.
Before we even get to Hazard Zone, I love how you basically destroyed your own claim that the game only has two modes because you mentioned Breakthrough Mode, which is Conquest but different, but you're also once again leaving out the other modes that exist through Portal Mode. There's Rush, there's Team Deathmatch, and so much more. Even if you're just talking about the three main modes, just keep in mind that you can literally make your own game mode in Portal. So yeah. Did everybody just forget about what Portal exactly is? It's basically a Battlefield sandbox. Why would you want to downplay something like that?
In this mode, you and your squad are given a direct mission, sometimes doing things like stealing hard drives or trying to just evac people or whatever like that. But here's the thing that makes this extra difficult, is that in this, you only have a single life. When you die, you are dead. Now, if you manage to explore the map, you can find things like redeploy so as you revive teammates, and you can pick up people off the ground as long as they didn't get headshots. Now, this game mode really begins to exemplify what they're clearly trying to do with Battlefield 2042, which is that this is a more serious game when it comes to on-the-fly adapting. The biggest new mechanic that they've added into Battlefield 2042 is this new thing called the plus system. During the course of running around and trying to complete these objectives and capturing points and stuff like that, you can sometimes have a life that is 20 minutes long. Seriously, I've been alive for huge chunks of an entire match, and some of these matches do end up lasting a full hour, as long as the lobby doesn't completely implode.
And when you're alive for a long time, you really begin to appreciate the plus system, because essentially the way it works is it lets you switch out specific pieces of your gun on the fly. And here's an example of a time where this is fantastic. I could switch between a scope to be extra long range and snipe people, and then as people are trying to flank me, take off the scope or change the break of the gun to actually change the range of it. This is an interesting mechanic. I mean, straight up, everything else in this game kinda sucks. The physics are broken, the speed is clunky, but when it comes to the plus system itself, this is ingenious. You really appreciate this the most in Hazard Zone, because since when you're dead, it's nice to be able to just easily swap between all the different pieces of your gun to fit that specific situation.
So do you notice how he points out how awesome the plus system is, and then he goes straight back into the bad things about the game? That kind of tells me about what kind of review this is, you know? It's almost as if he's trying to be a giant nitpicker and dig deep into what's bad about it, like the bad things is what he likes to focus on. I don't know, could be just me, but I get that feeling from DreamcastGuy. He's just trying so hard to find bad things about this game that he doesn't like.
But let's talk about Conquest. This is clearly meant to be the major aspect of the game itself. Like, this is what they want you to play for hundreds and hundreds of hours.
No, that belongs to Portal mode, because you could do Conquest in that mode, but there's so much more than that. You know that Portal mode was literally known to Battlefield fans as the best thing that DICE has ever come up with? Well, in a way, it's kind of true. It is the best thing ever. Also, now we're going to start skipping parts of this review because there's nothing in those parts to criticize him for. Some of the things he does cover in the game is great, like the environments, so let's go ahead and skip some of this.
On every single map, a huge tornado can show up and just start sucking up everything from the vehicles you're in, to people, to even just being able to just jump into the storm yourself and fly around in a wingsuit. Alright, so this right here, that's pretty cool. This is a way you can pretty easily just fly from one end of the map to the other, except for the fact that sometimes these storms can also just kill you instantaneously. It feels like there's such a terrible yin and yang of bad balancing inside of Battlefield 2042, because while certain moments like this, of being sucked up into a tornado and flying out of it, it feels like the ultimate montage bait. It feels like a game that's all about failing horribly, about having broken lobbies, and then getting that one insane play that makes you smile for an hour. Like, this game is such a freaking catastrophic game, because as much as I hated 90% of it, 10% is utterly brilliant.
See what I mean by how he's trying way too hard to look into the bad things about this game? You can clearly tell that he's had fun with Battlefield 2042, but no, I guess call it a mess. Just say the game sucks and don't buy it. I mean, you're kind of giving me mixed signals here, DreamcastGuy. You're telling me that Battlefield 2042 is really fun to play, and it has some really cool moments, but at the same time you're saying that it's a disaster and we shouldn't buy it? I'm gonna have to ask you to
Keep that same energy.
Now let's talk a bit more about the glitches themselves. So everything you're seeing here is being played on the PlayStation 5, because originally I tried to play this on the Xbox Series X, and the game was literally broken. Not a single match would finish. Every single lobby completely melts, and it just annoys me, because why am I paying $100 for a game I can't play? Now you may be saying, well, at least you got it to work on PlayStation 5. Well, here's the thing, even on PS5, it barely works.
Gee, it barely works on PS5, huh? I hope you elaborate on that and maybe show some evidence, because as far as I can tell from your gameplay, it runs just fine. Oh wait, he doesn't show proof that it barely works. Literally, look at his gameplay. Do you see any problems with how the game runs?
Straight up, even the frickin' server masters themselves, the official Battlefield account, is having to tweet out, yeah, the game is really unplayable, we're sorry about that.
That's not what the tweet is saying. Stop strawmanning their words. The tweet is saying that they're aware that sometimes you can't connect to a server. That doesn't mean it's unplayable. And once again, I'd like to point out that the game taking me to the main menu after trying to join a server, that only happened to me like twice. The rest of them ran perfectly fine. You know, if you're really gonna strawman a tweet from the Battlefield Direct Communication about how apparently the game is unplayable, then how come you said earlier that the game has some really enjoyable moments? That doesn't sound like unplayable to me, and I can further confirm this. Battlefield 2042 has some genuinely awesome moments, especially in Portal mode. So how exactly does that make the game unplayable? Oh, I can't join a server? Ooh, there's visual glitches? Ooh, there's only 7 maps? This game's totally unplayable, guys. Like, fucking hell, man. This logic is hurting my brain.
Almost every single time you try and join a match, you can get this huge screen that says, oh, sorry, there's a persistence error. This is just one of the glitches. Sometimes you'll have other stuff where you'll just get kicked out of a game for no reason. One of the most annoying ones, sometimes you'll sit in queue, you're sitting there waiting for the match to start. I sat here for 7 minutes. It said that people were joining, and then it just put me back in the lobby.
At least he shows proof on that. I'll give credit to him for that. I mean, it's not happening to me almost every time I try to join a server like he claims, but at least he showed proof that this happens. Although that still doesn't change the fact that he doesn't show proof on everything else, like how the game quote-unquote barely works on PS5. I want proof on that.
And then, even when you do get in the lobby, here's something that personally pisses me off. There are no scoreboards, there's no kill-death ratios, and even if you do get into a match, after each and every lobby, it kicks you out. You can't do multiple matches with the same people.
Okay, so the leaderboard argument? Fair enough. I completely agree that the game having no leaderboard is bullshit. But the part where he talks about how you can't play with the same people every time you play a match, that's what the fucking Portal mode is for, you fucking dumbass.
It's stupid to me that they're making this. Like, is this so they can have some sort of, like, skill-based matchmaking? I don't understand what the logic is of trying to make a game that just constantly slams on the brakes. Like, since you keep kicking me out, and since 90% of the time the lobbies are going to crash, it makes it where sometimes there would be 30 or 40 minutes between getting into a successful match.
The lobbies were crashing 90% of the time only in the first 5 hours of early access, and then DICE smoothed it out. You said it yourself that at the time you made this review, the game's been in early access for 30 hours, so you basically had 25 hours of broken lobbies that have been patched and are now much more playable. It no longer happens 90% of the time. Does it still happen? Probably, but it's not so frequent anymore to the point that it's unplayable.
It is insane to me. And then even when you are in this, there's not a lot of content. There is not a lot of guns in general. Even as I leveled up and tested out things like the shotguns and the sniper rifles, you realize that the balance, the closer you look at this, the game is incredibly busted. Like, here's one of the main problems that everybody is incredibly pissed about right now, myself included. Sniper rifle bullets are the slowest in the entire game. This is such a clear error in the game itself. So when you get a sniper rifle and shoot it, the bullets fall out of the sky like it's a freaking airplane without gas. Whereas if you use a different gun, but with the sniper scope on it, the bullet range is better and faster. So a lot of times I would get an assault rifle and put a scope on it and be killing people from miles away. Why is it that I'm in the future and I have a gun that sucks so bad I might as well be throwing rocks at people? Like, seriously, the sniper rifle, I spent so many hours just trying to get some good headshot footage, and bullets are just falling on the ground.
Oh, Dreamcast guy, your stupidity never ceases to amaze me. You want to talk about a headshot montage? Well, let me tell ya, you ain't it. How about you do me a favor and get good?
And I'm getting killed by people who are practically just blind firing their assault rifle from a half a mile away. Everything about this game annoys the heck out of me, but the strangest part about this game is that secretly within it, they've actually packaged together the previous Battlefields.
But It's not a secret that they put the older Battlefields in 2042. Like, I'm sorry, what? What makes you think they made it a secret? It's blatantly fucking obvious that they put 3 older Battlefield games into Portal mode. Where the fuck did you get the idea that it's a secret? They literally made it clear several times over that these 3 games were going to be included in Portal mode. Are you just deaf, Dreamcast guy? Do you not pay attention to trailers?
So stuff like Battlefield Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3 are tucked inside of this. You can even play the old ones from like Battlefield 1942. They're inside this game if you go into Portal mode. This allows you to play the previous versions of them, but seemingly with updated graphics. And so I actually spent almost all of last night just testing out the retro content, going through World War II moments, playing VIP, shooting people in the head with all these different crazy stuff, unleashing rocket launcher justice in these jungles. And what's weird is that the retro game modes that are inside of Battlefield 2042 work perfect. Like, I'm seriously losing my mind here. The sniper rifles from 100 years ago work better than the sniper rifles that are apparently from Battlefield 2042. This game is so busted, it feels like they didn't even test it. How did nobody actually say, this doesn't work? I am so frustrated because the parts of this that are the most fun are when you're playing the old school content.
Well, to be fair, it's a remaster of 3 different Battlefield games, and they're all in a mode where you can mess with the game's code and create your own game. Also, I don't know if you knew this, but did it ever occur to you that you are playing these 3 older games that are upgraded to Battlefield 2042's mechanics and movement? Because that's literally what Portal mode does. It allows you to play these older games with Battlefield 2042's mechanics, because, you know, Portal mode is a Battlefield sandbox, which you seem to be oblivious on that fact.
Every time I actually logged into the servers of Battlefield 2042, a lot of times I just wanted to break my controller because I was so frustrated at how destroyed, how limited, and how poorly balanced this game is. Do not buy Battlefield 2042.
Gee, I hope you elaborate more on how the game is broken all because of Portal mode. I mean, maybe. Tinfoil hat theory here. Maybe you joined some random ass Portal lobby and you got your ass handed to you because it's probably team deathmatch with 128 players and you don't know what the fuck to do. So you assume that the game is broken and no one should buy it. Just a playful thought, but I think that's what happened when he played Portal, because he doesn't really elaborate on how this game is just completely broken based on that. And finally, we reached the end of that god-awful review. What is this, like the 3rd time I covered this game? Man, people just can't seem to grow a brain cell when it comes to this franchise. Not surprising though, apparently nobody knows about the cycle of Battlefield launches, but whatever, I probably have Stockholm Syndrome. Kill me. Anyways, hope you liked this video. Be sure to subscribe because, you know, I need clout.